So would you recommend even to other artists, if you want to try and get the biggest impact and most views for your music videos, having a collaboration like that and making it like an event?
100%. Yeah. I found like that's been like one of the biggest things in general. I mean, community as a general rule has been like one of the most special aspects of doing all of this, but also just from like a promotional standpoint, those collaborations are really key. You know, you bring out the best of what everyone's got to offer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Miltrick Media. I'm your host, Miltrick, and I'm here with New York and New Jersey music artist, songwriter, Rory DeLazno. Rory, thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for sitting down with me. I appreciate it. So we first met, I think at this point, 6 years ago during the pandemic. We connected on Instagram. I think I had you on one of my first live streams, but yeah, it's been a long time in the making. I feel like it's like, yeah, we connected back then. What a time. Can't believe that was 6 years ago already almost.
I know, it's crazy. Time flies.
Yeah, time flies. But I remember seeing about all your work, everything back then. You've been grinding since then. You've had numerous releases out, videos, and also you do a lot of live showcases. You run a marriage, also curation. You do the Singer-Songwriter Showcase, correct name, right?
Yeah.
And then Writers Round at Crossroads in Jersey. So let's dive into the live stuff first. So you're currently doing Writers Round New Jersey. How did you get involved with managing and curating Writers Round and live events in general in New Jersey?
Sure. So it's an organization based originally out of LA by my buddy Greg Gilman and a few other folks. I played it as an artist when I was playing some shows out there, and I loved the environment. So my buddy Jackie and I thought we'd bring it out east. Jackie ended up having to do some other commitments, but we've been carrying it on and just sort of trying to commit to continuing that vibe. We've expanded probably to about 8 different places, I want to say. It started out west, like I said, LA, San Diego, Orange County.
Nice.
But we've been building it out, had a chapter out in Knoxville, Tennessee, Portland, Oregon. And yeah, just hope to keep doing it.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
when you're running and curating that showcase, it's weekly?
So it's been sort of like intermittent now. I think ideally the sweet spot is going to look like, at least in Jersey, a monthly type deal.
Gotcha.
Out in LA, it's weekly, but there's a bit more foot traffic out there. So we want to make it into more of like an event, you know, since Garwood is this venue that we have it at is a great place, but it's not super local to everybody involved. So we want to try to like space it out probably out here, but
I understand.
yeah.
So in general, when it comes to hosting live events, managing and running live events, how do you go about it? How do you handle it all? And how do you run and manage live events?
Well, I mean, you know, as a musician myself, I've been fortunate to, you know, come across a lot of talented folks. So, I mean, to some extent, it's just by virtue of like hearing people as I go around. I'll reach out to folks. Sometimes they'll reach out to me, say, hey, I see you're running this thing. Sometimes it's more intentional. You know, I'll go looking on Instagram, go looking at different bills and whatnot, different places that I see people playing and give a listen and say, oh, this person might be a good fit. So it's sort of a mix of things that just kind of happen naturally and being more intentional about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we talked about also a lot of your releases beforehand. I've been following you for a few years now, and you come out with numerous solo releases, like Happy with Phil Robinson, Real, right? Numerous other releases. So, and the music video for Happy with Phil Robinson, I remember you filmed it in New York, got over 85,000 views on YouTube and counting. So with that music video in particular, how did you market and promote that video?
Well, I got to give a lot of credit to Phil. Phil's really good at that business stuff. So we did partner with the PR firm, but also we had a bunch of different local videographer. My buddy Yassi Muhammad, who's based out of I want to say Bed-Stuy, and you know, I had him involved, and then his people. Then we partnered with another, I want to say Queens-based media company, Offstage Tunes. So we put together some promotional videos and stuff like that. Had a couple, you know, events on YouTube where we had like a chat going on and behind the scenes type of panel between myself, Phil, the videographer, Luis from Offstage Tunes, and then the actors that we had involved. So we tried to make it more of like a all-out event, you know, with a bunch of different supporting materials. So that kind of helped it flesh it out and whatnot.
No, it's amazing. So would you recommend even to other artists, if you want to try and get the biggest impact and most views for your music videos, having a collaboration like that and making it like an event?
100%. Yeah. I found like that's been like one of the biggest things in general. I mean, community as a general rule has been like one of the most special aspects of doing all of this, but also just from like a promotional standpoint, those collaborations are really key. You know, you bring out the best of what everyone's got to offer and end up sort of like, I guess, cross-pollinating.
Yeah,
you know,
for
like
sure.
Their community is like checking it out and yours is, and then everyone's just kind of like vibing around each other. So it ends up working out kind of naturally from like a promotional standpoint, and also just like good vibes, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Would you advise to other indie artists using a outside company like you did to help get the music video off the ground?
Yes. Yes and no. I mean, those kinds of things can be like a big investment, and it can be hit or miss. I would say probably like the biggest benefit though is just sort of like putting your heads together with people that you know, people whose stuff you dig, and just sort of trying to get it going organically. I mean, the numbers may not be as large, you know, on paper, but I feel like the quality of the engagement you get and the quality of the people who care, you know, they'll find it. So I would say probably, you know, PR firms and stuff are a nice little boost, but I'd say the most important relationships that you'll build, the most important views that you'll get will be from people who you kind of like organically come across.
Definitely. That's awesome. That's a great point. In terms of budgets for music videos for independent artists, and because you have experience with it, I know a lot of artists, they're looking to get their feet wet and jump in for step one with music videos. What's a good budget you think looking like for an independent artist music video? What would you advise?
You know, it really depends I mean, I'm not like super privy to the technical aspects of it, but I've been able to get really good quality stuff done with people who I personally trust. Just kind of keeping it simple. Like I'm thinking of, there's a music video I did for another song called Power of My Love with my
Great
buddy.
song.
Thank you. With this guy, Crüe, incredible videographer. We kept it real simple. We sort of just like filmed it at this, I guess it was like an abandoned airfield, I want to say. But It just created a whole vibe, and it was like real simple. We were just like, Chris was like, hey, I have this location that might be a good vibe. Like we could just do this, you and me, keep it to one camera, and it'll just, you know, it'll still work really well. So I guess my advice, and, you know, ultimately I'm still figuring it out to myself to an extent, is just to keep it kind of simple and go for a storytelling vibe. At least that's what's been working for me. Surrounding yourself with good people that you know, really trust and vibe with, and then just kind of keeping it simple to start and seeing how things land.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's great advice. So even an indie artist could get something great done like that for even a few $100s.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking about it from like a specific dollars and cents song standpoint, I'd say, I don't want to give away people's particular rates, but I feel of course. Under $1,000, you know, in general, I feel like there are some local folks that, at least it was when we did it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you know, just in general, I feel like we've been around $1,000 or several hundred for these kinds of things. And, you know, you could always go further.
Yeah.
You know, like the one we had where we had actors and everything. I mean, it was probably more of an elaborate production, a bit more collaborative situation between all the different parties involved, but like you don't really need to like swing for the fences to have something really powerful, I feel like.
I understand for sure. That's really cool though. Let's talk about that record, Power of My Love. Great song. So what inspired the production and lyrical theme of that song? Let's take it back from the start.
Oh yeah. Power of My Love was a song inspired by a friend of mine whose cousin was tragically killed in a terrorist attack in New York, not 9/11, but a few years, I guess now it's been more than a few years, but this fellow Darren Drake was just riding his bike, and a guy ran him down in a like a U-Haul. And I never knew the dude, but I went to some events memorializing him, and I was just like really moved by like the level of impact that this guy had on the people around him. So just sort of coming away from that, I went home and I wrote this song for, like I said, this guy I never knew personally. I mean, I knew my friend Kristen, who was his cousin, but I just sort of was thinking about that, and it all just kind of came naturally from there. And then I guess part of the story too, for, you know, unfortunately, I guess, is my father passed away right as I was about to release it. So
I'm sorry to hear that. Rest in peace.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So I remember I reached out to Kristen, you know, the friend whose cousin I'd originally wrote it for, and I said, hey, like, I don't want to like hijack the meaning of this song, but also it's hard not to think of my dad to some extent too when I'm playing it. So, you know, she kind of gave me a blessing of sorts to say like, yeah, this song is about loss and grieving and overcoming, or, you know, working through that. And, you know, that's not something specific to one particular person, you know. So I guess all this to say, the song's about grieving and working through loss and keeping someone's memory alive. And like the genesis of that was memorial for this really inspiring dude that I never had the opportunity to meet.
Yeah, that's a powerful meaning.
Yeah, thanks, man.
You as a singer-songwriter, how do you prepare for live shows?
Don't say alcohol, right?
You can say whatever you want.
Alcohol. No, it's a lot of things.
You're free to say whatever you'd like.
Alcohol helps. Water is also, I'm told, very important. From a logistical level, though, yeah, alcohol, water, but also just trying to get in the right headspace. My story's been kind of one of fits and starts. I started playing really young, and I kind of got told the classic advice from the universe, which is, hey, this is really hard. You should get a real job and do a real thing,
We've all heard that.
Right. And, there's some good intentions behind it maybe, but I'm a little biased, but I always am in favor of, pursuing what makes your heart sing, so to speak. So all that to say, I had like a very circuitous path, and I had some loss in my life. My mom passed away when I was 14. And then, like I said, my dad, so basically, oh, thank you, man. Basically, where I'm going with this is I try to channel all that. I try to remember why I'm doing all this. I try to think of, my parents were really supportive. My parents were actually not the people yelling in my ear to get a real job.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, really grateful for that. I could use a few more bucks, so I kind of wish they yelled in my ear, become a banker or a doctor or something. That might have been helpful a little bit, but they supported me, and I always think of my mom like helping me record like crappy music videos and stuff.
That's great.
Yeah, when I was like 8 years old or something, acting like a doofus, And my dad being like, my dad right before he died, I had just started to really get kind of serious about playing out, even just like open mics starting out, and then to turn into showcases. And not to say that open mics aren't still great, because they are, but at that point, playing an open mic was like unbelievable to me. I was like scared. I was like, oh, I'm gonna mess it up. Everyone's gonna laugh at me, all this crap. But he used to call me and say, Rory, what did you do? Where did you play? That's incredible. What's next? And that kind of stuff just keeps me really focused on it. So I try to like think about that before I go on.
That's awesome.
When I'm drinking.
I hear you. That's awesome. No, that's really cool. Yeah. So would you say that throughout your music career, and even yourself as an artist growing up, was your family a big inspiration for your artistry? Definitely.
Yeah. My parents, very unorthodox folks, they always felt like music should be at the forefront of everything. And, that really got me inspired and got me started. And they were really supportive, as I said, which is huge.
Yeah, it's huge. That's a great impact. That's a really cool story. And then going back, you just mentioned open mics, live performances in general. Any artist, any genre, would you recommend them getting their feet wet with live performance, starting out with open mics when they're starting their career?
100%, and honestly, still. I mean, like I was really fortunate. I got to play the Stone Pony a couple weeks ago.
That's amazing.
Thank you, man. That was a big like bucket list item for me.
Legendary venue.
It really is a special place. But speaking of places where I tried to like be very intentional about my mindset, as I was about to walk on that stage, I said, just be here. Don't let all the other crap going through your mind interfere with being present. But all that to say, like a couple of weeks after that, I hit up this open mic at Under St. Mark's Theater in the East Village.
Oh, great area.
Yeah, really cool area. And like, that was my first thought. I've been like following them on Instagram for a while. I thought this might be fun because it's the East Village, and this is the whole history of great creativity and interesting characters and whatnot. But me and my buddy Ryan went there, and I was like, this is like arguably more inspiring than anything I could do at like a ticketed venue. Like I was just around all this different kind of like artistry. I mean, they had spoken word, they had comedians. Don't get me started on that. That's a mystery to me how anyone does that. It's like so scary.
Comedians?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's an art form in itself. It's incredibly hard to do that, be up like that, as live performance.
Yeah. And there were some real good ones, man. And they were swinging for the fences, man. Some of these things, were really pushing boundaries. But it was great, man. And so many different kinds of stuff, obviously musically as well. And I walked away thinking like, man, I'm so glad that I did this, because I have heard a lot of people, not a lot, but I've heard some people say, oh, I'm beyond that now. Now I'm like, I've moved past it. And I'm like, do you ever really want to move past just mixing it up with people and remembering why it's the whole purpose of doing it,
Definitely. Yeah, that networking, that being out in person, like just mixing it up with people, it's so important. Now that Well, especially because, when we even first met during the pandemic, like when live events came back after that period, I felt like they came back in such a powerful way. It's like everyone enjoyed it so much more because we went a little time without it. But I agree, mixing it up, being out and about, it's just fun in itself.
Yeah.
You never know who you meet. It's so fun.
It's so true. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I could just go on and on about just the open mics, to be honest. So, yeah, definitely starting out, that was an absolute game changer for me. I mean, like I said, it's still a game changer now, but just bringing it back to that friend whose cousin passed away, my buddy Kristen, coworker. I remember when I was still in this, hesitant era of my life, she gave me this handwritten note with all these Hoboken and Jersey City open mics and said, will you just go? She was a musician too. So she was like, we'll go and I'll help you out. And I was like, oh, I don't know. It seems something might go wrong. It's going to be late night, and lo and behold, that ended up being the whole thing that got the ball rolling. I mean, I was having a good time. I was meeting people. A guy over at this place called Northern Soul out in Hoboken, my buddy Dave, took me under his wing and said, hey, you got something. Like, why don't you should have your own like showcase here, or, your own, event dedicated just to you.
Yeah.
He hooked me up with a mandolin player. I said, of course, that especially in that point in my life, I was like, a mandolin player. Oh no, how's he gonna know what to play? What am I gonna tell him? It was fine. If you're good enough to play the freaking mandolin, you could do anything. So my buddy,
that's sick. Mandolin, you implemented that?
Yeah, he played. He learned the songs like on the spot, and I was like, I don't know, man, that's crazy, but what a great time. And then, like I said, one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I couldn't stop playing.
So you were playing a bunch in Hoboken as well.
Mm-hmm. That's where it all started. This most recent stretch. So like I said, like I technically was playing like on the corner at like Starbucks in Englewood, New Jersey when I was like 7 or 8, which is like, I'm sure it wasn't the most exciting. It wasn't the most high quality entertainment available, but people were tipping and I was like, oh, cool. This is neat. And like a guy came out with his percussion and, as a kid, it's like, oh, this at the very least, it's like humorous or charming for passersby. And for me, it's sort of like establishing that mentality, like, oh, I like to entertain. All right. Lo and behold, a couple years later, I had a couple of shows at the local library where for some unknown reason, the Englewood Library, God bless the Englewood Library, was like,
shout out.
was willing to give me like an hour to play. And people showed up, local community members were like, there's a 12-year-old kid that writes his own songs. Like, they're probably terrible, but let's find out.
So you doing it all back then? Young, that's awesome.
So 12, like I'm thinking like 12 through 14, right before my mom passed. I mean, I was doing that kind of thing. I was playing at Borders bookstores, Barnes and Noble, that kind of deal.
That's legit. And like people would tip, like you really were meeting people in a great way back then.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I appreciate it. It's easy for me to like take away from it and be like, oh, it's just a kid, whatever. But like, it's so easy to not do that. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of unusual. So sometimes I think about it, I'm like, oh, that may have more to do with like me actually picking up the ball and running with it later on than I realize, because not a lot of people get to do that. I mean, obviously, there's tons of like...
Yeah, and that's building up a foundation so young, middle school, high school. You have that years of experience.
Yeah, and I don't want to make it sound like I was like Michael Jackson in the Jackson 5 or something here, but, it were gigs, and then when my mom passed, it got a little derailed, and then, honestly, it took me until then, so like 14, that was like 2003, 2004 to 2018. I was basically just like sitting on my hands. I was writing like crazy, but I wasn't doing anything about it because I was too in my head. So I'd play like one open mic here. I'd be like shaking like a leaf, I went to University of Michigan. There were all these opportunities to play different things on campus, and I did it maybe once or twice. So now it's easy for me to look back and be like, God, like wasted time. But all this to say, by the time I got to 2018, right around turning 30, I said, all right, Kristen, I'll go to the open mic in Hoboken. And that's when the ball kind of got rolling. And then we had a global pandemic. So that kind of put a little wrench in things, but we figured it out.
Yeah, that kind of put a little wrench in things. Yeah, the timing, impeccable. Impeccable. But that's cool. It sounded like a great friend that she gave you all those, like the list, the advice to go, put that in your head, put the kernel in your head.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's like probably my primary thing that I'd like to be to other people. I just want to like, if there's any like I was going to say cautionary tale, but I don't want to be even negative about it. But if there's like some way that I can encourage somebody who's on the fence to like take that leap, I want to be that person because I know how big it can be, you know, how much of a transformative experience that can be when someone just gives you a little nudge, you know?
Yeah, and you yourself, you have so many releases out on all the services. You're an independent artist. So how do you handle self-releasing music as an artist?
I let my hair go gray and I let it fall out, man. I don't know. Logistically speaking, I can't recommend DistroKid enough. That's the distributor I use.
That's what they use as well. I've used them for years. DistroKid, yeah. Great service.
Yeah, in my opinion, the best. I mean, I did some research at one point, but I didn't want to get too, you know, too analytical about it. I was
understand.
A lot of people use DistroKid, and then I used it, and I was like, this seems fine. But it's tough, man. I mean, that's like figuring out what to do and when to do it is the hardest part, in my opinion, of being an indie artist. So
definitely.
Yeah.
That timing, getting all that, everything that you manage on your own, like you're doing live shows, you do admin, marketing. How do you handle it on your own? What can you tell other indie artists? What can you tell other indie artists to avoid burnout, to alleviate that?
Don't do it. Become a lawyer.
Or
I don't know.
Banker.
Or a banker. Yeah, I don't know where I pulled that from, but I was like, yeah, banker sounds good. Lots of money in that probably. Yeah, it's a constant struggle. The best advice I could think of is don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, that element of community comes into play there too. I'm really lucky that I've got a bunch of other, you know, artists who've done this kind of thing and I can bounce ideas off of them. And also just try to stay as organized as possible. I'm a pretty meticulous person when it comes to like writing stuff down, probably to my own disadvantage because I'll get like too caught up in like, oh, did I like write down that I reached out to this person in the right place at the right time, you know? But I would imagine the alternative would be way worse because it's hard to like keep up with all the things you got going on at one time or another, you know?
Yeah, it's a constant juggling. That's a great point because you keep track of all that. It could help you in the moment and then even down the line, you know, when you're trying to stay present and all that good stuff. So we talked about Writers Around New Jersey, which you're currently doing. You talked more about that and how they have numerous chapters. Let's talk about your own installation as well with live performances and you promote other artists, the Singer-Songwriter Showcase.
Yeah.
So how did that start? How did that all come to fruition, that showcase?
Well, COVID. I mean, it started when I basically was like, wow, I miss hearing my friends play and I miss seeing their faces. So I forget exactly what month I started it, but it's sometime in the summer there of 2020, I guess. And I got a couple friends on there and I said, this is nice. You know, I mean, people were doing it. Like you mentioned, you know, you had your foray into that too. I mean, it wasn't a novel concept entirely to try to involve people virtually, but I just thought, you know, it's a fun little thing. And then it just kept going. And like I said, you know, spent a lot of time on Instagram, maybe more than we should, as, you know, independent artists.
Back then, that was a thing to do. Still is, you know.
Back then, it was the only thing to do. That and like DoorDash. But yeah, man, I'd poke around and see who I could find that I thought sounded cool. And then, you know, I was very quick to kind of like discredit it because I was like, okay, we all have Instagram. We could all hop on a live, but I guess, you know, for whatever reason, people were digging it. So I just kept doing it and I kept pulling in different people. And then I think in the beginning, it was just a one-off like split screen situation between myself and the artist. Yeah. But then at some point, I believe they added the functionality that you could split the screen like 4 ways.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a game changer because then I had different artists, you know, talking to each other and bouncing off each other. And then I was like, I could just sit here and watch this. I don't have to do anything. I just, you know, just listen for the most part.
Those features were cool. I remember when they implemented that. Yeah. It's changing in real time.
That's right. Yeah. And we had to. It was a crazy, unprecedented time. So, you know, obviously there were a lot of things that were figured out off the cuff. And, you know, that was a small technological benefit, I guess. But yeah, once that happened, it ended up becoming real fun. Got some people on there that I'm like, I don't know why they're answering me and they're willing to do this, but I'll take it. You know, and as of right now, I'm thinking about starting it back up. It's been a little bit. There was a stretch there for some reason where we needed to step away, but I've been putting feelers out. Once live music in person came back, I was like, all right, there's like naturally going to be a little bit less demand for this maybe, but I don't know. There's still some doing it. I know my buddy Dave Vargo does a 2 for Tuesdays live stream on Facebook. That's been pretty fun. Yeah, so I put my feelers out and said, hey, do you guys want this back? And it was an overwhelming yes. So as soon as I could find some time, you know, I'd like to get it going again. Because there was even an international component to it too, which was fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we had a few episodes where I was able to find some folks from overseas who were interested in doing it. And, you know, that was really fun for...
Yeah, that's a lot of
fun for me at the very least, but some people seem to enjoy listening to it. So.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you as a music artist, who are your biggest musical influences?
I mean, I grew up on the Beatles and a lot of old school stuff, Billy Joel, Everly Brothers. So I used to think I was born into the wrong generation, you know. Then I found out about emo music. And, you know, when you experience a loss early on, not to bring it back to a little bit of a down, you know, vibe, but you know, sometimes you get kind of like shaky memories of the past. Like there's a lot of times I don't really remember that much about my mom, and it bums me out because she, for one, we were really tight, but also she passed away when I was 14. So I was like, we had 14 years, but we were really tight. All this to say, one of my clearest memories of my mother that's never going away is me showing her "Bring Me to Life" by Evanescence and the video.
Shout out, legendary song. That whole time, great music.
That's right.
I love that era.
Same, man. That changed it for me. And I think both my parents were like, "Well, we raised you on Billy Joel. Why are you listening to the All American Rejects?" You got
to tell them back that mom and dad respect Amy Lee.
That's right. She's got a great voice, and I think we can all get on board with that. Tyson Ritter from All American Rejects, one of my favorite voices.
They had a big resurgence the last couple of years. It's great to see that. They're a great band.
Not
that Move Along record, Gives You Hell. I was bumping that all the time back when it was out. I was in school.
You got to give him some respect. Not for nothing, he looks exactly the same as he did in like 2002, which makes no sense. Guy's a vampire or something. I don't know. But I distinctly remember showing my dad that. So my mom on Evanescence, maybe she was slightly convinced, but my dad on All American Rejects, he was like, why is this guy, why are his pants so tight? I was like, all right, first of all, Dad, that's the vibe now.
Dad, it was the time. It was the time.
He's like, his voice is so whiny. I'm like, I don't know. I like it. So all this to say.
You got to rock with what you like. You got to rock with what you want.
That's right. Whatever's hitting you at that particular moment. So
sure, that was a great era.
It really was.
That was a great era. But for you, though, as an artist, Rory, what upcoming projects do you have coming up? What's in the works? What would you like to promote?
Yeah, so I got some shows coming up. The first one that comes to mind, I know I got one at Olives in Nyack, New York with some of my good buddies.
Nice.
Like a loaded bill. Got Catch Me If You Can, Boy Blue, The Extensions. It's just going to be a crazy lineup, and it's actually a place I played really early on in my like life/career where I was like, I didn't even know how to plug the guitar in. Like I was literally like, where do I put this? And my buddy was like, what's wrong with you? But anyway, that one's a big one. Got some stuff coming up in Asbury, a New York show that I'm really excited about that I don't know if I'm at liberty to announce yet, but it's going to be really cool when it does drop at Berlin under A.
Great venue.
Yeah, really cool room. Just like a fun room to just be in general. And then I'm hoping to set something up out of town too. That's been one of the most fun aspects of all this, just getting to see some of the country. Yeah. I've been fortunate to play a bunch in LA and Nashville.
Oh, that's
South.
sick.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And even when the Berlin Under 8 thing comes up, we could always promote it on Insta. When the time gets closer, we can still put the clip. That'd be cool, though. But that's cool. You've done some out-of-state stuff as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's been really fun. And that's some more of the stuff I was mentioning to you off camera, that I got like real close to hopefully being able to announce, but right now I'll just leave it at that. Looking to get out of the state, out of the area.
No, for sure. Little cliffhangers are cool. We're cool with that.
That's right.
And what about any music projects coming up that you're gonna release?
Oh, actually, speaking of LA, I did a show there a few years ago. I had some of the audio recordings, so I figured I'd do like a live from LA record. So I've actually got that pretty much ready to go. I just have to make some final edits to send to the producer, and that'll hopefully be out over the next couple months.
That's a great idea. Live album.
Yes.
That's really cool.
First live album. So
yeah.
Figured LA and Hotel Cafe where I did it was a really cool place. So I figured it'd be a good way to commemorate that.
Nice. That was the venue you performed at in LA?
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, any last words or any new accounts, any accounts on social media you want to promote to the audience, please let us know.
Just, the usual. Instagram is really my bread and butter. I know I'm supposed to be better on TikTok, but I don't know if anyone wants to see me shake my ass. I don't know about that. And, Spotify, whatnot. As far as, final messages, I would just say, keep at it, as cliche as it sounds. But, that's That's what makes it all worth it, you know, just having community around you, rallying around that and vice versa, and just sticking with it, you know.
Definitely. And yeah, let the audience know. Let us know, what is your name and handle on Instagram, on Spotify. Let us all know.
Yeah, it's all Rory DeLasno, Rory, last name DLA, Snow, SNOW.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all under that.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, Rory, thank you so much for your time and for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. It was great to learn more about everything. I'm looking forward to those projects, and once the time comes closer, that'll be really cool to promote it. You know what I mean? We're really excited about that. But thank you again so much. I appreciate it. Guys, thank you again so much for tuning into another episode of Miltrick Media. I'm here with New York and New Jersey recording artist, singer-songwriter, and live performer Rory DeLasno. And Rory, thank you again. Guys, thank you for checking out another episode, and we will see you soon.